So on Mondays, they had practice, and they just wrapped it up a moment ago. They're supposed to be in full pads today. They ended up with helmets and shoulder pads.
They call it shells, they call it.
So when we got there, and we get just 20 minutes or so toward the end of practice, they don't show us all the good stuff.
Yeah.
But they show us some stuff, and we saw some good balls. But what we saw a few drops.
Yeah,
and
I've seen some drops in the couple of days that I've been at practice. It's a little discouraging. This is a wildly talented wide receiver core that can get some separation, but to win in this league, your wide receivers have to make plays. There's gonna be a lot of times when they're not really that open. It's the quarterback's job to put the ball in a spot where only they can catch it, and they got to go up and make plays, and they can't have drop balls. And so, something I'm watching there, more drop balls that I'd like to see early in camp. But that's something you hope you fix and get better at as camp progresses.
So for the quarterbacks, what we're seeing is what Aaron Roderick has been saying, that it's a 50-50 split between Gerry, Bohanon, and Jake Retzlaff. We've interviewed both of them. Mm-hmm. Both those interviews were on BYU Sports Nation earlier today. They've both been on this show. They both have leadership skills. They both have live arms. One's a little bit bigger than the other. One's got more experience than the other. Mm-hmm. Will that be what wins out in the end for Gerry Bohanon as we take it on here for a moment? Gerry, when healthy, won the Big 12 championship and the Sugar Bowl when he was at Baylor. Missed last season with a shoulder surgery. We've been watching him in practice. He's healthy. And so does his health and his experience complement his chances to win this job?
Here's the interesting thing. You and I talk about it all the time, and I've been watching that really, really close. And during spring ball, I just felt like, man, I'd really like to see the Gerry Bohanon I saw win the Big 12 championship. But so far, his arm, to me, does not look like it's right. He just didn't have the velocity on the ball that we had seen when he was at his peak. And he didn't have the touch on the deep ball. Like, he was one of the best deep ball throwers in all of college football a couple years ago at Baylor. It just wasn't there in the spring. And so we were just going, hey, this thing's going to be Jake Retzlaff. He has more velocity on the ball. He's played in 4 games in this offense. This is what's going to happen. Well, Gerry told us today, we talked about it. He revealed this in an interview the other day, and we aired it on Sports Nation this morning. And toward the end of May, he went to the doctors, and he had his shoulder injected with
stem cells. Yeah.
And he goes, they told me I couldn't throw for a week. I didn't throw for a week. I came back after that week, and I threw one day, and I thought, whoa, that doesn't hurt at all. I have a range of motion I haven't had in a long time since surgery. So he said I threw the second day, and then the third day, and then the fourth day, and then the fifth day. 5 days in a row, hundreds of balls with no pain and with no limit to his mobility. And he thought, wait a minute, I'm back.
Yeah.
And then I saw him throw about 3 weeks ago over at the field house with all 4 quarterbacks working out with John Beck, and he's making every throw. He's throwing 18-yard comebacks and deep balls, and I'm going, okay. I didn't think Bohanon had a chance the way he threw the ball in spring ball. When I watched him throw the other night and what I've seen in practice, it really now it's a quarterback competition. Now it's who can take care of the ball, who's going to move the team, who has the heart of the team, all of that. And Gerry is absolutely in the mix, and he brings this big physical frame that can run the ball to the game as well. And a history of starting in a P5 league and winning a championship and winning a Sugar Bowl.
And I think we're going to find out here sooner than later. Once they make the call, you get into next week. Now you're into the second week of camp. The season openers later this month, and they can't be messing around with it. And Jake's looked good in practice too, and we had Jake.
You got to have 2 guys. If we learned that over the last few years, you got to have 2 or 3 guys.
Got to have 2 or 3. But when we think of Jake, we think of speaking of the typical fan, is the last 4 games of last season, 0-4, and didn't take care of the football. And then you go, well, how do we judge that? How do we judge that as he moves forward? And then you look at John Beck, who's worked with both of them over the summer, a quarterback guru. And then I looked at John Beck's first 4 starts back in 2003. And he went 1-3. His first game against Stanford, he was 22 of 45, 2 interceptions, 279 yards, 2 a touchdown, got sacked 5 times. Then he comes back to Air Force. They get beat. He's 19 of 35 for 193 and a touchdown. Then against San Diego State, they win, but he's 17 of 26 for 180 and 2 touchdowns. And then a loss to Colorado State, he's 10 of 23 with an interception and a touchdown and 136 yards. So those first 4 starts for John Beck, not great. But he finished with 11,021 yards and remains number 3 all-time at BYU. And I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Because Jake went 0-4 against Iowa State, West Virginia, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State.
Way better competition than any of the old quarterbacks we ever talk about ever had to play against.
And he had some
good
good moments and he had some bad moments. But those are the 4 judgments, right? And if John Beck was judged after 4 games and wasn't allowed the opportunity to grow and develop, what would be out our number 3 all-time leading passer in program history. So that's kind of a head scratcher of, well, what do you got Bohanon, who didn't play last year because he was recovering from surgery, and you got Jake, who went 0-4 in his 4 games, and then you got spring practice, summer, and here we are in fall camp, and you go, well, which sticks the most? Previous experience with Gerry or last year's experience with Jake?
And to me, it becomes, over the next 2 weeks, Aaron's got to put them in pressure situations, and he's got to watch and monitor and grade every single thing they do. How's their decision-making? How's their accuracy? Are they moving the team? Is the team scoring when they're in the game? Most importantly, are they taking care of the football, really? Because I think this defense this year, who, by the way, through 4 practices, if I had to rate a winner, offense or defense, in the first 4 practices, not surprising, I think the defense has won the first 4 practices. And there's been moments where the offense is good. You and I showed up today, like the second play of the scrimmage at the end, Hillstead throws a deep bomb over the top of the defense for a touchdown. And they started 3s against 3s. We also saw Bourget throw some nice balls out there. And then we saw the ones go ones. And exactly as had been described to us, then Gerry and Jake split reps. So, and then also important thing, we keep saying this, who's the team rallying around?
Yeah.
Who does, like, it should be obvious to the team who the guy is, and it should be obvious to the coaches that it's obvious to the team who the guy is as they pick who this person's going to be here in the next couple of weeks.
And so if that doesn't evolve quickly, then maybe we got an issue.
Yeah.
But we sense that it is evolving, and that it'll be sooner than later. I was thinking earlier that if the game were tomorrow, then Jake would start because he's deeper into the playbook time-wise.
Right.
But now I'm saying, you know what, it could be either one, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was Gerry starting.
I feel very different than I did last year. Last year, I felt like, hey, Keaton Slovis can go out and win games for BYU. And if Keaton Slovis can stay healthy, they can win 7, 8 games. Who knows, they could get hot and win 9. Well, Keaton Slovis didn't stay healthy. Here's the problem I had with last year, and you and I talked about this a lot. I kept saying, if Keaton Slovis doesn't stay healthy, I don't feel good about anybody at this point being ready to go. They throw Retzlaff in at the end of the season. He wasn't planning to play as the primary guy at the end of the season. He was going to come off his redshirt year and get a little experience to help him be ahead for this year. He ends up having to be the guy. This year, I feel like there's 4 guys that could play.
Yeah.
I feel like they could win games with Hillstead or with Bourget. I really feel like they can win games with Jake or with Gerry. And so I feel like this quarterback situation is in a much better place than it was at this exact same time last year. Let us know, what's more important to you? Is it more important as fans that somebody that played a whole season and won a championship, should that weigh heavier than Jake Retzlaff having more reps in a game in this offense?
Yeah.
Like, what's more important? What's the key?
What we do know since we were last together is that Ben Bywater won't be playing this season. Retired, recovery from his shoulder surgery, his second one, just didn't leave him with a whole lot of room for error. You know, your shoulders put back together, but you get hit again and you could be in much bigger trouble. So they lose Ben Bywater, who's been the leading tackler whenever he's been on the field the last 2.5 seasons. And we love Ben. He was on this show and such a great personality, a great representative of what a BYU student athlete is. He's already graduated in finance but dang, we were hoping to see him on the field.
Yeah, he's such a great downhill player and so physical. And you know, he talked about when he had this last dislocation, when he dislocated his shoulder, it came out the bottom, and the nerve that wraps around and basically supplies the the function to that front deltoid really hasn't healed up and gotten firing again. Yeah. So no matter what he's done, he can't get the front part of his shoulder strengthened, which is just
need that for a linebacker.
Recipe for disaster to go out and hit on that thing and re-dislocate it, and then now you're talking about getting a total shoulder replacement at 24 or 25 years old, which is no good.
No.
And so he's, at least for now, he did leave a little bit of a door open, saying that he's not going to play this year, not closing the door on forever if somehow they can get that thing to fire. But let's be. He's devastated by it, and rightly so. But he's keeping a great attitude about it and saying, hey, I got to move on and figure out, what this next chapter of my life looks like.
Yeah.
BYU will miss his leadership for sure.
So he's going to coach the linebackers, or at least help coach the linebackers this season. So he's still near the program, just doing it differently. The great Ben Bywater, they got depth at linebacker, so they feel pretty good.
Well, they bring in Jack Kelly this year, who
Weber State transfer.
Oh man. Like, he just looked good again tonight.
He's got to stay healthy.
Yeah, we got to keep that guy. He's got to stay healthy. He is a tackling machine. He looks like an NFL linebacker. He's built like an NFL linebacker. He runs like an NFL linebacker. Man, can BYU just keep nice things and not have him get hurt? Let's knock on wood. Let's keep that guy healthy. And that starting group right now, excuse me, when they line up in a 4-3, and they have him on one side and Isaiah Glasker on the other side, that's two guys that can really run and cover a ton of ground, yet they can play downhill and physical. And then Taggart is a stocky, prototypical BYU middle backer that likes to step up and play downhill and hit people.
And we saw him last year.
Yeah, and he was just kind of getting his feet wet and coming back, and he knows what's going on now. And when we're watching them line up, those are the first three out there. They have good depth at all of those positions as well. We saw a number of guys have to play last year because of injuries, but those three starters, those are as good as anybody in the league has. Those three guys.
That's right. So some cool things were announced last week, including the uniforms. So remember, last year and the last few years, they'll roll out the uniforms like the week of, and kind of a big reveal. And this Saturday, we're wearing the whites or the royals or the blacks or the navies. And so this year, they decided we're doing it all at once so that everyone has plenty of advance notice as to what color shirt to wear to either a home game or a road game. And so they sent them out there, and we thought we'd go over them.
All 12 color schemes for the season.
And we, of course, start with Southern Illinois. Let us know what you think on the stream, if you think it's a good idea or not. But against Southern Illinois, they're coming out royal head to toe with white face masks. Seems like that's going to be an awesome look.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. They've worn this before, and I think the face mask pop when they're royal head to toe with the white face mask.
So night game under the lights in royals, and when they come strolling out with fireworks, it's going to be quite the scene.
Yeah, then they head out on the road to SMU. They wear white jerseys and pants with a Navy helmet.
That's going to look good.
With Navy trim on the shirts and on the pants with that Navy helmet. That's a pretty classic look as well.
And I imagine SMU will be in their red home jerseys, so that'll be a nice color clash. That'll be cool. When they go to Wyoming, white shirts and pants with the Royal helmet. So they're going to switch out the Navy for the Royal, and that's going to look pretty cool.
See, and I'm a Royal fan, so because I feel like it's the traditional one, and Royal's it. So, hey, and by the way, Lynn Hazelwood says, bring on the ballroom dance team.
Okay,
multiple
Lynn,
names.
We'll do it.
Lynn, we hear you.
We're no respecter of national champion.
We like when we have national champs, we need to bring them on. So we're with you. Maybe we bring them. Maybe that we have that be a show where we Cougarettes and
that'd be good.
Talk about.
They could show us some new moves.
Those are really visible programs around the country and around the world. So now we go from Wyoming, Kansas State at home. Don't you love that they're going back with the same uniforms that BYU wore in 96 when they beat K-State in the Cotton Bowl and finished number 5 in the country? That's the Steve Sarkisian team. Kansas State, 1996 throwbacks, white shirts and pants with a white helmet.
I like that color scheme with the royal jersey
trim
number
on everything.
And trim.
Royal trim. And remember, it has the black shading.
Yeah.
So it has the shading on the royal trim.
Do you think they'll slide Chad Lewis out there at tight end?
They need Chad Lewis. You know what? They can use Omar and Tim McTire at the corners.
We just slide in a couple.
Yeah.
See what happens. They're going to go to Baylor, and they're going to wear white shirts, pants, royal trim with a white helmet. That's as clean a look as it gets. I love that look.
Yeah. And then Arizona at home, royal shirts, white pants, white helmet, royal face mask. That seems like the Kalani uniform, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The old Kalani home days.
Look.
Yeah.
When Oak State comes in on a Friday night on ESPN, they're coming out with the royal shirts, white pants, white helmet with the white face mask. That's going to be good looking.
I like that.
Good looking.
On the road in Florida, at Central Florida, navy pants, white shirt, navy helmet.
They might want to come out in tank tops and shorts.
That's a good look. Yeah, it could be hot. Yeah, it could be hot.
Yeah, that is going to be a good look.
The next one's the most important to me, so you go ahead and reveal it, and I want to say something about it.
So they're going to go up to Salt Lake, and they'll play the Utes, and they're going to be royal from head to toe.
Royal helmets, royal shirts, royal pants,
royal
white
socks,
trim.
White trim. That's going to look good.
It'll
go up against the Utes.
Guess what their record is in that combo?
What?
3-0.
3-0. I'm going to make a note of that right here. The Utes will probably come out all crimson.
Never lost.
That is going to be an awesome clash of colors up there.
I like that they wear an undefeated uni combo.
Yeah, that's good. When Kansas comes to Provo, the Cougars will be in royal shirts, white pants, and royal helmets.
Yeah, that's a pretty look. So remember, Kalani loves the royal because that's traditional, but they wore white helmets with a royal Y on it when he played. They never wore the royal helmets when he played. I think that's a good look, though. Yeah. At Arizona State, white shirts, royal pants, royal helmets, white face mask. That's pretty traditional right there.
Down there at Sun Devil Stadium.
That's like old school. That's a combo that BYU's worn for years. Maybe not with a white face mask, but I do remember even back in the 80s, for some reason I remember Adam Haysbert always having a white face mask. When he's catching that go-ahead touchdown against Pittsburgh, the white face mask stands out in my mind.
So when they roll out of the locker room down there the Saturday before Thanksgiving, and BYU has more fans than the Sun Devils,
it's going to be a takeover.
This is the uniform you're going to see take the field.
It's a takeover.
It's going to be awesome. And Max Hall is going to be our sideline reporter with Spencer Linton on game day, so that'll be fun.
That'll be fun. The last one, Houston at home, navy shirt, white pants, navy helmet. So all navy on the top, white on the bottom, navy trim on the pants.
Yeah. And that could be a game that gets you bowl eligible.
Yeah.
And who knows? Might be in the snow. Navy shirt, white pants, navy helmet.
It's interesting. I put a lot of stock in these first 3 games. They go out and handle their business in these first 3 games. They may get bowl eligible way before anybody thinks they will.
I hope so.
So, and we're going to talk about the schedule in just a bit, but BYU has one of the toughest schedules in the league. But I do like that they play the tough teams at home.
Yeah.
And BYU figures out a way to win at home, especially if it's at night. Let's hope for all those games to be at night.
Mark Actual on the stream. Here's the question of the night. How much time have Dave and Blaine spent playing college football? 25. I've spent 0 seconds.
I haven't had 1 minute on the controllers, but my grandsons were in town all this week.
You got it at the house?
Oh, I was watching them all week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. And we'll get on there.
We'll play.
When the
grandsons are in town, I'm down the priority list of who gets to play.
Let me give you an update on the flyovers. There'll be no flyover for Southern Illinois. That's a new development. There are 3 in the works for other home games, and the kickoff times are the factors there. And we vow to keep you posted. We also promise to have the pilots on Wise Guys before they buzz the stadium.
That's right.
But, that's the situation. So there'll be fireworks in the sky. There won't be jets on August 31st. Today, the coaches poll preseason numbers came up. It's the first poll of the year. The AP Top 25 comes out next week. So in the preseason coaches poll, Georgia's number 1. That's going to be a popular pick across all these preseason polls. But the coaches poll, they have Utah at 13, Kansas State at 17, Oklahoma State at 18, Arizona at 21, Kansas at 24, and SMU and UCF getting votes. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of BYU's opponents. 8 either in the top 25 or getting some votes in the coaches poll. Yeah, seems about right.
So here's what I was talking about, and I knew we were going to get to this next, so I didn't go right into it. But so yeah, BYU's got one of the toughest schedules in the league. In fact, one of the toughest schedules in the country, and they play how many of these teams? They play Utah, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Arizona, and Kansas.
Yeah.
Right? But here's the good news. They play at Utah, which I'm not sure that it makes a huge difference in that rivalry, right?
All right.
They got Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Arizona, and Kansas all at home. So the other 4 ranked teams that they play that are ranked in this preseason, they have at home. Kansas State, Arizona, Oklahoma State, and Kansas all at home.
I love that. Seems like you have home field advantage.
Yeah, and you know what? You get a chance to upset some ranked teams at home. And if you get things going, well enough, maybe you get ranked because of it. So the only ranked team preseason that BYU plays on the road is Utah.
Think about last year. They open at Kansas, big game for Kansas. They've kind of turned the corner in their program. BYU's ahead at halftime. If that game's at Provo, does BYU win that game? Very good chance. Very good chance that they do. Kansas
BYU can beat anybody at home if they get it rolling and that student section gets going. So, guess how many of these ranked teams in the league Utah plays? Two.
Yeah. I think that's why half the guys are thinking, oh, they got a chance at a special season because they have one of the easiest, on paper, easiest schedules in the conference. But BYU's going to go up there on November 9th. That's not going to be easy, and that's not listed as one of their super tough games. So the people not listing that don't know about the rivalry.
Right. That game's tough no matter what the teams are ranked, and we've figured that out over the years. And we're talking about even when BYU had the upper hand and Utah was the underdog, that game was never a game that you just penciled in as a win. No matter how bad Utah was or no matter how bad BYU was, you don't pencil it in. So, yeah, Utah does play at Oklahoma State. So that's what, number 18. They play at number 18. I think that's a tough one. But they have Arizona at home. They play at Houston. Their road schedule is just such that, they play at Colorado. They play at Central Florida. They just
Central Florida is going to be tough for everybody.
I feel like they've got some of their tougher games, but they play Iowa State at home.
Yeah.
They've they got BYU at home. They have TCU at home, Arizona at home, but they don't see Kansas State.
No,
they don't see West Virginia. These teams that will match up physically with Utah, they don't have them on the schedule.
Yeah, they dodged bullets on that.
Yeah, that's why people are so bullish on the possibility that they, have a chance to win the league.
So our friend Brett McMurphy, who comes on BYU Sports Nation all the time, he posted his AP Top 25 ballot today. Again, that poll comes out next Monday, and that's kind of, if there's a legitimate poll, it's the AP Top 25. He's got Oregon number 1 in his poll, and then Georgia, and then Ohio State. And then he starts with the Big 12 teams. Utah at 10, Kansas State at 11, Oklahoma State at 12. So he's got them a lot higher than the coaches. Iowa State at 23. I don't know why they're not in the coaches poll. And then Kansas at 25. And then if you go a little further, he's got Arizona at 26 and SMU at 36. So BYU's going to face 6 teams in McMurphy's top 36, including 3 in his top 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why when we're talking, we're going, and people are saying, what are they going to do? And I'm saying people are underestimating BYU if they don't think they can get bowl eligible this year. But I'm not going out here and saying, hey, BYU wins 9 games this year, because I realize they have one of the toughest schedules in the country this year. Right? They certainly have one of the toughest in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Playing all of the ranked teams in the Big 12. And so, yeah, nobody on this show is saying, hey, BYU's going to win 9 or 10 games. Now, we're not saying they can't, but that's not what we're saying. We're saying thinking that they're only going to win 4 games is way underestimating what this team can do.
We think they can get to 7 or 8. If you get to 7, why can't you get 8?
Especially where they play these tough teams at home.
Yeah. Well, we're getting close. 2 weeks from Saturday, Florida State plays Georgia Tech in Ireland. BYU opponent SMU's at Nevada. Delaware State's at Hawaii. And Montana State is in Albuquerque for Bronco Mendenhall's Lobo debut as the head coach at New Mexico. That's 2 weeks from Saturday, so we're getting that close. But we got football before we get to there.
NFL preseason's going. The roster's cut to 53 on August 27th.
They do it all on the same day now.
It used to be first cuts, and they'd cut from 80 to this, and then this to this, and then finally to 53. Now they just keep everybody and just cut them, although
Dax Milne got cut last week by the Commanders.
They really, which is surprising because he's been kind of a staple there.
Yeah, they got a new staff now and new things. So let's run down who's doing what. Heather Olmstead's going to join us in just a couple of minutes here on the Wise Guys, live on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and wiseguys.com, certainly presented by our friends Brady Plus. So we've got football starting Thursday in the NFL, and we don't know if these Cougars will be playing. Their teams will be in action.
Right.
The young guys will certainly be playing, and those vying for a position, and some of the vets won't. But let's run down.
Yeah, this first one, I don't know if either of these guys will play much, because you got the Panthers and Brady Christensen against the Patriots and Sione Takitaki. Like, it's funny to say this, that Brady in just his second year is established, but he's established.
Right.
And so these are starters, and so I don't know how much they'll play in that one.
The Lions play the Giants Thursday. Caleb Hayes will be playing.
Right.
He's trying to get a job.
Young guy trying to get a job.
And then on Friday, the Falcons' Tyler Algier Not sure if Tyler will play. Dolphins, Chris Brooks, he is going to
play. He'll play for sure. And Tyler's an established guy.
Yeah.
So who knows? I'm sure he'll take some snaps. The Eagles at the Ravens on Friday also. Kyle Van Noy. Will Kyle play? I don't know.
Probably not.
He's probably not. He's an established star, longtime star, so who knows?
Max Tooley will be playing for the Texans against the Steelers on Friday
And good things coming out of camp from Max Tooley. He's turning some heads, so that's fun.
They played in the alumni or the Hall of Fame game. He had a couple of tackles in the second half. Then a storm came in, and they just called it. He was going to get a lot of action in that game.
So Saturday, the Jets are at the Commanders. Michael Davis is with the Commanders now, and will Michael play? Maybe, because it's a new team, but Michael's an established starter in this league. He started at corner for a lot of years with the Chargers. So
here's a big one. The Raiders are at the Vikings. Jaron Hall. He's never even mentioned in the quarterback battle in Minnesota. So whatever time he gets against the Raiders in any of these preseason games, he's got to produce.
Right. And then also on Saturday, the Packers with Zane Anderson are at the Browns. Aiden Robbins.
Trying to get a job.
Trying to get a job. And Zane's working to get a job as well. So we'll probably see both of those guys.
Like to report, we don't believe Robbins has broken ribs. So that's good.
That's good.
It's a better August for him.
Yeah.
49ers, Fred Warner will not be playing against the Titans.
Is there any reason to play Fred Warner a single down? No. So one of the top 15 players, what they had him number 11?
Yeah, number
overall.
11. Voted by the players.
In the top 100 by the players in the National Football League. That tells you all you need to know. And it's clearly the best linebacker in the league. The Chiefs, Kingsley Suamataia at the Jags. Kingsley's having a good fall camp.
Yeah. The Bucs are at the Bengals. Ryan Rico, he's going to be punting.
Yep, there you go.
He's trying to win that job.
Seahawks are at the Chargers. Chris Wilcox, currently with the Chargers. Can he fill the Michael Davis position with the Chargers?
I hope he can. The Saints, by the way, Taysom Hill, Jamal Williams, and now Samson Nakua, who signed with the Saints this week. I have a feeling that Samson probably will see some time. There's no reason to put Taysom out there.
Taysom's not going to play.
Or Jamal, for that matter. And the Cardinals have Kyrus Tonga, and I don't know if they're going to roll him out there this week.
Yeah, who knows?
Now, next week, they'll all be in.
Yeah. And then Sunday, so we cap off the week with Sunday.
This is a big one.
Yeah, the Broncos with Zach Wilson. At the Colts, Keaton Slovis and Blake Freeland, both with the Colts. Blake's established himself as a starter there for the Colts. So Zach needs some playing time and needs to play well. And then we finish up on Sunday with the Cowboys at the Rams. Puka Nacua, he's week to week with a minor knee injury. He'll be back. There's no way in the world they put him out of the field in the preseason
not
game.
Not a chance.
He's also in the top 100 players in the National Football League.
How about that in 1 year?
Yeah.
I interviewed Isaiah Banya the other day for an article at Deseret.com, and he is so fun to talk to, and he is so thrilled to be in the second year of the defense, to own it, and to be healthy and ready to go. And when you're done talking to him, you're like, okay, now we're all ready. We're all ready to go tackle somebody. And there's a whole bunch of these guys. Miles Davis, I have a story coming out either tonight or tomorrow on Miles Davis, a guy running back healthy, fast, healthier than he's been since the Wyoming game 2 years ago when he ran for 131 yards. And there's an energy that's coming from these guys of like, you know what? They say we're going to win 4 games. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
I get the sense Kalani loves that everybody's saying they're going to win 4 games.
Yeah.
And I get the sense that these players are embracing the chip on their shoulder. So they'll have no problem with motivation going into this one.
Hey,